live in the UK and you are on the housing ladder, you know that getting a council house or getting a social housing can be daunting. That is from applying, getting a priority, and even getting an offer can be very, very daunting. In this video, I share with you how I managed to get a council house as a student without even paying any council tax. So, if you are interested in getting a council house in the UK, or if you are on the waiting list to get a council house, please do join me in this video as I discuss how my experience went and how I managed to get my council house quicker than normal. Let's get into the video. So in the UK, there are about 3 ways you can get housing or accommodation. One being the fact that if you have your money and you can buy, that is mortgage. If you don't have the funds at the moment and you want a house, you want somewhere to live, then it's either you go for these two. This is the council housing or private renting or private ownership. So you go to the private landlords to get a house or an accommodation. You can do this via agencies, or you landlord him or herself. And the other way is for you to get a social housing, or they call it council housing. So before I talk about my journey, it would be worth me talking about what council housing is, who is it for, its benefits, and also how you can get it. So council housing is a form of public housing in Britain which can be applied for by families who require more affordable housing options. Council housing is for people who have less household income. So let's say round about less than 50,000 a year. If you also have, or if the family have, say, less saving, up to 16,000 or less saving in a year, you qualify. Also, what makes people eligible is that if you are 18 years, if UK is your permanent resident, and this applied to even if you are a British citizen, the UK has to be your permanent resident, meaning you spend most of your time in the UK in a year. Also, say for example, if you are about to be homeless or legally homeless, you are. If you live in an overcrowded house, if you live in an area which there is so much violence and this violence is targeted on you, some things can be done. Maybe legal aid can be taken to help you. Also, if you have a medical condition that has become worse due to where you live, then you are eligible to apply for a council house. So these are the things that will make you eligible. Visa status makes me eligible or makes me qualify for this. So if you are a British citizen, you can apply. If you have an indefinite leave to remain in the UK, you can apply for council housing. If you have EU settlement scheme, which is you've got a settled status. If you have something like any humanitarian protection visa or right, if you have any visa that states that you can resource or you can use public funds, There have been some changes right now. So say if you have come from Ukraine, you can apply. If you've come from Afghanistan, there are a couple of countries as well. You can ask your citizens advisor if you fall in this category. Also, note that if you fall in these categories that I'm going to mention, then you cannot apply for a council house. So one, if you don't have the right to be in the UK. Two, if you are an asylum seeker. Three, if your visa says no public funds, you cannot apply for council housing. And also, if you are a visitor, you cannot apply for a council house. Other than that, even if you are you have a pre-settled status, but your visa says you are allowed to stay in the UK, you can still apply for a council housing. The benefit of having a council house is that one is safe, is secured, is flexible. Also, the council house becomes yours. You can live in it for the rest of your life. So you pass the probationary period and you do not exhibit any antisocial behavior and you go according to the regulations that governs the council housing, then after you have passed your temporary tenancy, you automatically go to the secure tenancy or the flexible tenancy, which is you can live in that house for the rest of your life. And if it is a house that you love and you think I can buy it, or you have your money to buy it, then you can buy it through the right to buy scheme after you have lived there for 3 years. That is, if the house is up for selling, you can buy it. Other thing that I think council house is beneficial for is that you can swap. Yes, if you live in a council house and say the house is too big for you, the house is too small for you, either ways, you can look for someone who lives in a council house and they also want to swap their houses or their homes. You can go to the council, tell them this is what you want to do. You found someone who lives close to you or lives near to where you live and they would love to maybe swap their house or swap their home. Then the council will look at all the necessary requirements, and if it is appropriate for you both to swap your houses, then you will swap it. Also, you can reapply for a new house or a new home. If say your circumstance change, you can reapply. But if you bought the house is a mortgage, you've bought it and now you've got a bigger family, you will have to maybe either resell your home and buy a new one, or you will have to go and get a new mortgage, which is not going to be as easy as we say it. But with the council housing, if you've got a bigger family, you can go again on the register, apply and do all the necessary things, and then you'll be on the waiting list as well to get a bigger home, which I think will be quite easier than you going to buy. Now we are eligible. What the council is going to do for us is that automatically they will place us in a band. So you will have a priority or a band. Some councils do their banding from A all the way to E. Some councils do it from 1 to 3, and every band has their own waiting time. So you've got to know what your council does and how their waiting time is. I'm not going to mention no waiting times for each of the band, because if I do that, then I'm being too explicit. So I'm giving you such thing as you want to wait for this time, and if that doesn't happen, you're going to be disappointed. So that's not what I'm going to talk about. What I'm talking about is it doesn't matter whether you are on the shortest band, you can still be waiting for that long, depending on your preference or houses that are available during the advertisement cycle, as I've said, your location, the preference of your location where you want to be. Also, how long you have already been waiting, you have been waiting on the register for. Also, or if you have a health condition that has become worse and you cannot stay in houses that were advertised on that day, that can extend your waiting time as well. There are so many people that are waiting to be housed than there are council houses available. So if you are on the waiting list, please be patient. Some councils would let you bid in a different city or in a different area if they think that area has got more houses. Now, I've talked about all these things. Let's go to how you can get a council house quicker. For you to get a council house quicker, there is no magic way. This is a disclaimer. There is no magic way that I can tell you. I would say be flexible enough. So being flexible, I will expand it to say that if you are looking for a 3-bedroom apartment, 3-bedroom house, and the council, during the cycle, the advertisement cycle, there is only 2 bedrooms available, and you have children who can share 1 bedroom, I would go for that, and then later on reapply. You waiting on the waiting list for a long time. Any circumstance that you go through, if there is any extenuating circumstance, if your situation changes, just update the council. Tell them what is happening. To your surprise, they will do something about it. They will do something to help you. So do update them. If you move, say, jobs, let them know that you've moved jobs. Update them if you say or you give birth, let them know. Sometimes even if you get married after you have applied, your kids move schools, let them know. Also, I would say use all your biddings. I know in each cycle you got the chance to bid for 3 houses, and if there is a housing association, you can bid for 4. So ensure that you bid correctly. Yeah, so if you are looking for, say, if you are a single person, you don't have kids, you are a couple but you don't have kids, automatically you are classed to get a 1 bed. So there is no point you going to bid for 3 bedrooms, because council will not give you something too big or something too small. They will give you according to your status. So I would say I stayed on the ladder for about 2 years, and then I got offered a house. But what I did during my time was that I made sure I updated the council of anything that was going on with me. One thing I did, don't tell anybody, one thing I did was that I updated my local MP about my situations. So he did speak to the council on my behalf. I wouldn't say that did any magic, but at least I got a priority. My priority got changed when he stood in for me. But that is not a guaranteed way to go about it. So what I've mentioned, that you bidding regularly and using all your bids, and that will do the magic for you. Keep bidding. Don't go a day without bidding. That's what I did. I never went a week without bidding, and I made sure I bid for the houses that were suitable for me. Or so there is no point me wasting that time bidding for a 2-bed or a 3-bed that I know I'm not going to get. Sometimes you can be lucky and you will get a 2-bedroom as a single person, but it's not always guaranteed. So know what you are bidding for, and know what houses are suitable to you so that you bid them. And also, the other thing I did was that I kept voting during any election period. Vote, because that do help you. Because if you keep voting, and say even if you have a council house and something happens and you go to the council to raise a concern, they take into consideration how you have been voting. Do you vote and all that? So if you have come to the UK and you are registered on the electoral register, please do vote. Go when during election time, please do go and vote, because that do help. So that is what I did. And yeah, updating the council, making sure I bid appropriately, making sure I use all my biddings. So I was bidding for housing association and all that. I did not stick to just the council housing. I also made sure I was flexible enough that visit your application and put new information in. Please don't ignore this message when the council send you this info. Make them aware of everything as you go along, and I promise if you do all these things, you will get a council house. So that is all from me today. I hope this helps, and I will be sure to update you if I get any new information concerning council housing. Also, you can share this video to people who you think they might be interested, and let's spread the message across. Okay, so I will see you in the next one. Don't forget that if you have any questions or anything that I haven't mentioned but you want some clarification on it, just put them in the comment below and I will be sure to answer. Have a good time and thank you for watching. Bye bye.